Photosyntech. Welcome to another episode of Meet the Grower. Today, 420 scene. Definitely stoked to have you on, sir. I've been watching a lot of your channel, and you know it's funny. The way that I found you was through my own analytics. I was looking at what my viewers are watching, and it turns out a lot of my viewers watch a lot of your stuff. So I thought, what a better way to introduce myself and to say, hey, why don't you come on board and we'll have a chat? And here we are.
Well, thank you so much for having me on your show. I was actually wondering, like, how do you find it? Because everybody finds me like Google or, you know, YouTube search or recommended. So I was kind of curious, like, how did you find me, you know? So.
Very cool, very cool. Well, you know, just a quick shout out to our sponsor. I know Mars Hydro looks after you as well as they look after me.
Absolutely.
So just a shout out to those guys. And guys, if you want to support the show, Patreon link below. Always appreciate anything that you can do. That being said, let's talk some growing and talk about you there, 420 scene.
Absolutely, sounds good.
So, you know what, before we get talking about anything grow related, man, I see you got some axes in the back there. Music.
Yeah, man, big music guy. I've been writing and recording music since I was like, well, I started playing guitar when I was like maybe 6 or 7 years old, you know?
Yep.
I listened to the Dookie album from Green Day and I wanted to be like Billy Joe, you know? So I started learning, and that's music's always been like a passion of mine, you know?
I hear you, man. I hear you. I very much the same and whatnot. I played bass, guitar, all that stuff for a long time before I got into, well, growing and whatnot. So,
Yeah.
how about yourself? How did your grow journey start? Give me that sort of life story. How you became a grower.
Well, my life story, it's pretty crazy. Well, not really. It's not really crazy. I grew up in a small town in Jersey. I was an only child, and I actually graduated from the University of Connecticut, UConn, with a bachelor's in broadcasting arts, and that's how I started, you know, with my YouTube channel. That's how I enjoy doing this facet, you know. Like I just told you, I'm a musician, songwriter, and of course a grower. And like I've always loved the creative arts, and I've always loved horticulture, and I've always viewed horticulture as an art. And I like entertaining people, so I figured I would start a YouTube channel, and not to just teach people how to grow, but just make it fun and interesting. So, you know, so here I am, you know what I mean?
Right on, right on. And, you know, it shows the passion in your videos and stuff. You're definitely highly knowledgeable in what you talk about. And I think your viewers definitely get a lot of good takeaways. So let's talk about your grow style then a little bit. I know you're a fan of the Fox Farms. Tell me about it.
Oh man, I've been using Fox Farm for a long time. I actually started using Fox Farm because I was the first YouTuber that I watched before, you know, while I was learning growing was Cali Green back in like
very familiar. Yeah.
It was definitely Cali Green. But I started because for one, I'm a cancer survivor, which is something that I haven't really told many people about. And I just truly believe cannabis just saved my life, or at least contributed to me beating it. And, you know, also like I started because my friends were buying like $20 a G. And I always thought, you know, $20 a G, $20 for like this much is just ridiculous. So I figured if I grew, I wouldn't have to worry about ever buying. Like I would just save tons of money. And, you know, like I said, I learned from Cali Green with the whole Fox Farm stuff. And I read a lot of stuff from Jorge Cervantes. And like over the years, I just changed my growing style. I started using like the bottled nutrients, and kind of, I feel like everybody kind of just starts out with the bottled nutrients.
Pretty much, yeah.
And like over the years, I tried to go more into the organic side of growing. And I'm not even talking about just using the composties, like that's all good and all, but like using a lot of the stuff that you would find around the house, you know, like coffee grounds and like eggshells, wood ash, just, you know, stuff that you would find around the house, even using cinnamon for, you know, pests and all that, you know what I mean? And
gotta love those local inputs, man, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Like I feel like a lot of this stuff people don't think about, like coffee grounds, you know, great for nitrogen. Like wood ash is great for, you know, like, you know, drying out the larva in your soil so you don't have any bug infestation. Like that's just something that a lot of people generally wouldn't think about unless, you know, obviously you had to do your research on it. And me, I've always been a huge believer in using big pots and using lots of dry amendments. I'm a huge down to earth fan. I train all my plants. Actually, the first time that I started growing, I figured, oh, I don't need to train. I'm just going to let them grow, and that's going to be it. And then the yield was like absolutely trash. So
dismal.
Yeah, dude, it was like really bad. So ever since then, I got into learning about low stress training and topping. And by the way, I absolutely love mainlining plants, which is like the combination of topping, LSD, and defoliation. And the reason I started doing this on YouTube is because I know how discouraging it can be from the beginning. I mean, I was there, you were there, everybody was there. There's so much knowledge, there's so much information, there's so many resources out there. And me, like, I don't think I'm the best grower out there. I know some people are gonna say, oh, you're really good, you're really good. But like, the thing is, I wanted to get people out there and teaching people that there is something that they can do and everybody can do, just practice growing and all the different techniques that's just involved in growing.
I can't agree with you more. And just to kind of go off what you're saying, I think, looking at the comparison between creating YouTube videos and growing a plant, it's that first plant, it's that first video, it's those first few steps that are always the hardest. And I think that's in part what makes bottled nutrients more approachable, because it is that bit more of a recipe and whatnot. Would you agree?
I agree in that sense, and also because a lot of people don't really know what they're growing with. Like, okay, like, I start with Fox Farm, so everybody likes Ocean Forest and Strawberry Fields and Happy Frog, but what's in it? Why are you using Ocean Forest? Why are you using this soil? Why are you mixing these two soils?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think that beginning, a lot of people don't understand all the things that it takes to, like, all the different recipes and all the amendments that are in there. And what a lot of people do, they rely on those bottled nutrients, because all you got to do, because like, I'm using Humboldt Secret right now, and email anyway. That kind of broke me a little bit.
That's okay. Humboldt
but
secret.
but like, at the same time, there's like a schedule on there, so
Yeah.
it's so easy to just follow, 1 tablespoon, one teaspoon of this, 2 teaspoons of that, mix it with a 1 gallon, and that's it. And people are so strict on that schedule. And even though people don't understand it, people can understand how to read, like a nutrient schedule. So I think that is always going to be like the first step. I don't think somebody just straight up just like, oh, well, I'm just going to make my own compost tea and I'll just figure it out. Like, no one's like that. You know what I mean? So I
Oh,
totally agree on the bottom
absolutely.
nutrients part.
Yeah, and I think that's also what can pull people down, is because it gets you into that mindset that I just have to follow this recipe, and it couldn't be further from the truth. Where that's a good basic building block and path to follow. You got to be in there. You got to be looking at the plants. You got to be understanding what deficiencies start to look like, especially if you're using salt-based nutrients, because the ability to swing so far out, due to salt stack up or pH issues, that sort of thing. So tell me then about failures that you've had as a grower when things haven't worked out so well. When maybe you've had, say, a pH issue or something along those lines.
Probably the biggest failure is like, most of my failures was like stuff that I ran from experiments, but I always like learned something out of them. So I took those failures and made something positive out of the experiments, whether it worked or didn't work, filtering different soil mixes that worked from ones that don't work. I know I started, I used to start, I would be like, oh, I'm going to try to fit as many plants as I can in like a 1 gallon container and like hope for the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. And I was like the worst thing ever. I got like horrible yields out of that. But you know what? I learned something from it. So to me, it's a failure, but at the same time, I feel like if you get something out of it and you don't make the same mistake twice, that's the difference. You know what I mean? And
Oh, completely.
huh?
I say completely.
Yeah, absolutely. And when it comes to failure as a grower, like, I have a lot of people, asking me questions on YouTube, asking me questions on Patreon and Instagram. And there's like two things that always come to mind. And the one that is tough, because a lot of people, especially new growers, measure failure on screwing up and having low yields. Like, oh man, you know what? I thought I was going to get like a pound. I ended up not even getting a few O's. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
the way I look at it, I measure failure as not learning what you messed up on. In horticulture, it's all trial and error. No matter how you slice it, all the science, it's still trial and error. You got to screw up to get yourself better. It's not something where you can read, every article of every forum and bam, you're just going to knock it out of the park the first time. And like, the second thing that people, I think, always mess up on is micromanaging your grow. Oh my God.
Oh
Like I
yeah.
have people looking every hour of every day. Oh my God. Why does this one leaf look like so terrible? You know, people just got one leaf that doesn't look so hot, or they feel like their plants are only growing a quarter inch a day. Like, bro, like what's going on my plant? I'm only growing one, a quarter inch
It's
a
not
day.
bamboo, man. You're not going to shoot up that much in a day.
Like,
Well,
yeah,
unless you're during the stretch, but
yeah. And just people looking like 10 times a day, looking for a problem, thinking watering is going to solve every problem. And
oh,
now their plants are overwatered. They give them more water to fix overwatering. And it's just like, guys, chill, man. Like, micromanaging is probably the biggest failure that a lot of growers have. I can't even say that I was never micromanaging. When I first started, I was literally measuring my plant like every day, just tally it up, oh, how big did it get today? You know what I mean?
yeah. There's been almost a theme that's gone along with a lot of these interviews from people who are experienced growers such as yourself, and it is just that. Just let the plant do its thing. Look at the plant, like get in that grow room every day and make sure that you're understanding if something's going off the rails. But let the plant do its thing. Stop stressing.
Exactly. Absolutely.
So then the flip side. Tell me about your best grow when it all came together when you got those big, juicy, resinous dank buds.
Oh, my best grow. Actually, this one's funny, and a lot of my viewers that also watch your stuff is going to remember this from last summer. It was the big bud from ILGM, and I
Hmm.
had a Mars Hydro light. Someone slammed the door, the light fell, and it sliced my plant because I was mainlining it, right? And it
Okay.
sliced it in half. So I was always a running joke that, oh, we got 1.5 plant, not bad for 1.5 plants. People like, what do you mean 1.5 plants? And end of the day, not end of the day, but like at the end of the grow, it was like, I think I got like 10, 12 O's out of 1.5 plants. And it was like fat, like it was really fat. And it was lots of colas. And it was like the biggest yield I ever had. And I always think that maybe, just maybe it could be because the light fell on it. Maybe that exploded the growth or something. Like, there's super cropping and there's just like, I mean, straight up light guillotine, you know what I mean? So that was definitely my biggest harvest.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's the thing. These plants, they take so much stress and you can beat them up so hard with all sorts of different methods of training. And you can still get away with damn near murder. You touched on
Yeah.
training earlier, but let's bring back around and talk about that a little bit more. How do you approach training in general? Is it always mainlining, or is it more of you're looking at what the plant's doing, listening to the plant, tell you what it needs to have done?
Um, I guess it really depends. Like if I'm doing autoflowers, I know a lot of people like to top autoflowers. I personally don't, only because, you know, you can't really tell how long a plant's going to be in veg for. Like
Yep.
I had these Skittles, right? The last grow that I did, the last series I did, and it was in veg for like, I think 5 weeks or something, like 5 or 6 weeks, maybe 6 weeks. And now I'm doing some GDPs and they flowered after 2.5 weeks straight up.
Wow.
So topping is always like a no-go for me, even though some people are going to disagree. But like photo periods, I feel like you can just kind of do whatever you want. You can LST, you can top, mainlining, like I said, is defoliation, LST, and topping. You could kind of, super crop. You could do high stress training because like there's a lot of room for error with photo periods as opposed to autoflowers. You know what I'm saying? Like a
Oh,
lot of
totally.
people think autoflowers are easier, but I think it's a little harder only because you you have to almost be perfect. Like, if you screw up autoflowers, it's like a big deal as opposed to photo periods. So that's kind of what I do with training. And it also depends on how much room that I have to work with as well.
Well, fair
I
enough.
think
Fair enough.
I've always here's another trick that I've always done now because I do LST on autoflowers. I won't actually plant the autoflowers in the middle of the pot. I'll actually, um,
Off to the
I won't,
side.
I'll leave it a little bit to the side. So
Yeah.
when I bend it down, it doesn't look like a hanging palm tree. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, for sure. That's a great idea. And there's a bunch of different little tip, tricks and tips that you could do along those lines. I've seen things where guys are taking and twisting the stem as they're pulling it down. There's ponytailing. Just it's a pretty neat game to play when you get into training that
It's
plant.
a lot of fun just having that even canopy. And there were times where I would bend the plant, I'd bend it down and then it would come up, but I don't have any more room. So it almost goes like in a circle around the pot. It looks really crazy and ridiculous, but I mean, it works. So there's so many different, like, I think when it comes to training, it really depends on what you're comfortable doing training. I think it also depends on your level of expertise, how much you've been growing. You know what I'm saying? Like if you just started out, I don't really recommend super cropping because, you could screw that up pretty good. You know what I mean? Like, so I think when it comes to training, it really depends on your level of expertise.
Yeah, and getting in there and feeling comfortable with it. I mean, just touching on super cropping, that's a technique that I like to use several points throughout the grow just to get a little bit of that strength into the stem. But recently, I was super cropping and I went and I snapped that tip damn near clean off. I mean, it was just hanging on by a thread. Bent it back around, added some tape. About 4 or 5 days later, no issues.
Formed like
So,
a nice knuckle, right?
oh, absolutely, man,
Oh yeah,
absolutely. And that's going to get that nice big bud because again, the plants just take such stress.
absolutely.
Let's talk about some work in the grow room now. Tell me about what you think your favorite tool would be when you're out there, you're working, and it's the one that really gives those results.
Now, when it comes to like my favorite tool, I was really thinking about this question, and when you initially like asked me, and this might actually be such an unconventional answer, but honestly, I think my favorite grow tool would have to be my mind and like the
Nice.
knowledge that I've learned because, the reason for that is I know it might sound cliche, but like because no matter where you grow, it doesn't matter what kind of equipment you have, what kind of, tents, lights, pots, whatever, nothing is ever going to be more valuable than what you've learned. And, you're always going to keep learning that. You could take that everywhere. It doesn't matter where you go. It doesn't matter what situation you'll be in. You'll have that knowledge. And I think that's always going to be the best tool that you can, you can just take everything that you've learned, whether it's just trial and error, a grow method that you learned from someone else, or, even your favorite YouTuber, and, you'll always have that with you.
That's a great way to look at it. Recently had Green Goblin on from over on CLTV, and he talked about his senses being his favorite tool. So I mean, that's definitely it. And again, it just speaks to knowing your room, knowing your plants, knowing what's going on in that space, and if something is going off the rails, being able to recognize it and fix it. But
Well,
then
I think that's actually a great answer too, your senses, because you have, like, when it comes to deficiencies, like your next step, okay, my there's something wrong with my plant. I could just sense it. It's not growing the way it should.
yeah.
You got to have that. You got to have that almost sixth sense kind of, you know what I mean? So you can fix your problem before, if you don't fix one thing, it's going to lead to, it's going to kind of build up, you know what I mean?
Cascade effect, man.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree with you on that.
Right on. Yeah, no, that was definitely something that I could agree with 1,000%.
Yeah.
Bringing it around then, what do you hate doing in the grow? I mean, most people say trimming and stuff like that, and I would agree. But I mean, other than trimming, or maybe it is trimming, what kills you for the grow job?
I absolutely hate trimming. I hate trimming. As soon as you said that, I'm like, I hope you don't say trimming. I hate trimming, dude. I really
Yeah.
hate it. You're in there for hours and hours and hours on end. And I know some people love it. And honestly, I gotta get baked. I gotta put on some lo-fi music and just kind of vibe. Like I'll go on IG Live because it's that boring. You
Yeah.
just sitting there
Zone out.
trimming, and
Nip.
after a couple of hours your fingers start to kind of hurt, and you got to just take a break. And I hate trimming, man. I think everything else is good. I think trimming is probably the worst.
Yeah, for sure. So the company that comes out with the way to perfectly trim bud, might just make a $1 million, maybe two.
Maybe.
So, what do you think that most people don't know enough about, or maybe should be doing more of when they're growing cannabis?
I think people should be learning what all the different amendments are. I know I mentioned this earlier, and why they're good for your plants. So, like I said before, I'm a huge Fox Farm fan, always have been. And a lot of my fans use Fox Farm, but a lot of people don't seem to know why one soil is good for one reason, why,
Yep.
one soil is not good or good for another reason. And there's so many soils out there, and every brand has different types of soil. Like, there's Fox Farm, but it's like Fox Farm what? They got like Lucky Dog, Light Warrior. They got the three that I always mention, the Ocean Forest, Happy Frog, Strawberry Fields. And I think people have to understand what amendments are in everything. You know what I'm saying? I think that's super important. Or, you know.
For sure, for sure. And then, to that point, understanding that the numbers on the bag mean guaranteed minimum analysis. Minimum analysis. That's hard to say
Right.
sometimes. And that you might get something that's a little bit hotter than you're used to. So it's good to understand what type of soil you should be using for what point in the grow. And I mean, that's how the Fox Farms approach is. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's Happy Frog that they would go with for sort of the seedling veg state, and then more into the ocean forest beyond that. Is that correct?
Yeah, I look at Happy Frog as more of a complementary soil. I
Okay.
know a lot of people, some people are going to disagree. It is what it is. Ocean Forest is hot. It just is hot for some reason. I don't know if they changed the formula, because when I started back in 2014, Ocean Forest wasn't hot, and then maybe like 2017, like my plants started getting like nutrient burn, and I was never even adding anything else. But like, back to what you were saying, like even another example, like for example, all the different amendments that's in your soil, and how you have to know what everything is. Let's just say you go into your local hydroponic shop, and you want to get a good soil for flowering. So you ask your shop guy for strawberry fields, and he's just like, no, out of stock. It's like, well, now what?
Yeah,
How,
exactly.
how are you going to compensate? You almost got to be like an engineer. There's no strawberry fields, but they got a nice box of fishbone meal, or seabird guano to add to your compost tea. Well, I mean, there you go. Now you compensated your phosphorus somewhere else. Store doesn't have CalMag. Well, now what? You got your Epsom salt. Like, kind of the same thing. You got to know how to if there's one brand of something you're looking for, it's not there, you got to know how to compensate for that.
Yeah, being able to get in there and understand that this product will substitute well for that product, but you may use half as much is definitely good
Yes.
knowledge. And as you get into the organic side of things, there's a lot of different things that are thrown at you. There's animal byproducts, and then there's fish products, and then there's kelp is everywhere, and well, kelp is awesome, but it can be a daunting challenge. So in that regard, there's some great places out there like Build a Soil, who has a bunch of good information on their website. And more to that point, they've got some soil recipes. One of my biggest failures as a grower was thinking I knew how to build soil, and that's where I made some. I don't want to say big mistakes, but I could have had better grows. Right.
Yeah.
So looking to those who have the knowledge and working with the gifts that they're giving us online is definitely a good way. And I can't tell Build a Soil enough. I think those guys are awesome. So
It's funny that you mentioned that. Like, we live in such an amazing time right now.
oh yeah.
I think a lot of people take it for granted, like the internet, because the internet is around us. It's accessible every day. But like, what about the guys like in the 70s, and they wanted to grow? You didn't have this much accessibility to all, to being able to learn how to grow. So
Oh, great products aside, I mean, just the knowledge base that we have now
exactly.
is amazing. Hey, you look at the High Times, best strains of the '70s stuff, and it's just this dirty looking grainy bud, and it's like that was the good stuff back then, because that's how they knew how to grow it and whatnot. So it's interesting to see where things are going to go here over the next few
Horticulture is
years.
just always evolving, and even though we get some really good bud now, what's it going to be 20 years from now, though?
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
exactly,
It's crazy just
exactly.
even think about that.
Tech man, too cool, too cool.
Oh
So,
yeah.
tell me about what you're currently working on. What's going on in the grow?
Oh, I gotta. You know what? My grow room looks ridiculous. I'm literally just using my bathroom closet. I have stuff propped up everywhere. It looks insane. Like, it's almost impossible to use the bathroom. But anyway, we have two granddaddy perps going on. We got those. We got a lot of autoflowers, but we also have some photo periods. We got the granddaddy perps. We have two blue cheese. We have a gelato autoflower, and we have a California Dream. The blue cheese and the California Dream are photo periods, and right now I'm mainlining the California Dream. That's what I got going on right now. I'm using the Bloom Plus 3000 on the Granddaddy Perps, and the rest I'm using the Mars Hydro TS 3000 that they sent over to us.
Right on, right on. Yeah, I dig in those Mars hydrolights. I just actually recently put in
They're really
the
good, and you know what? They're so cheap.
oh,
Now when I started, I started with the Blurple lights, the platinum
yep.
LED. Those were the lights that were the thing. But you know, 100, 200 watts at the wall would cost you like $600-700. Now, 100, $300. It's crazy, and you get better yields now than you did before.
Oh, the spectrum and stuff that these newer ones are coming out with is
Phenomenal.
comparable to, I mean, the stuff that was considered top end even just a couple of years ago. So LED is definitely the way to go.
And back then, LED, like a lot of HPS growers from like, back in the day would hate all the LED growers, but LED is in 2021 is not the LEDs back in like 2015, 2014.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, for sure, for sure. And I think that the tide has really turned in terms of that type of lighting, in the sense that it's no longer viable to purchase that style of light, the CMH, or the other stuff with a metal halide. Oh, that's what I just said. CMH. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But the point is,
Yeah, yeah.
it's if you're gonna buy a new light, don't buy one of those old school lights, man. Get one of those new LEDs, because they're gonna give you way better results for way less money in the long run. And that's the thing that people don't tend to look at, is that total cost of ownership and whatnot.
But you got like a lot of those old school growers that are so hung up on HPS. They hate LEDs, like without even really even trying them.
Yeah.
It's almost like the music world, like a lot like my dad, and stuck on the analog technology. When you got IMAX and Logic Pro, it's kind of like the same thing in that regard.
Oh, nonlinear recording is an amazing, amazing thing. What piece of advice would you give to somebody if they asked you where to get started in growing?
um Honestly, just get out and grow. Don't read too much. Don't think that you're going to read every article and every forum and every book and you're just going to become some master grower. It doesn't work. Get the stuff that you need and start practicing. At the end of the day, you got to practice. You're going to screw up. I mean, you just will. Everybody's going to screw up. A lot of people have in their heads that, perfection is everything. And that's just not the way it works. But you know what? When you screw up, you get motivated to do better next time. And it becomes almost like an addiction, and most importantly, have fun with it. That's the part I feel like a
Yeah.
lot of people are skipping out on. Nobody's having fun with it. Everybody wants the biggest yields. Everybody's so serious and scientific and making sure your ppms are on point. You got to have fun with it, because if you don't have fun with it, you're not going to be motivated to learn more, something that you didn't learn previously. And then you're going to hate growing. It's going to end up becoming some kind of job. And like anything else, you're always going to be better at something that you enjoy. So just get growing and have fun. That's
Oh
my
man,
advice.
that is stellar advice. And I've seen it before, where people just they take on too much too quick, then they get bugs, then things go downhill, then grow is no longer fun for them, because it's ramped up so fastly and falling off that cliff so hard. Bringing it around
Most
to
definitely.
talking about bugs, then what do you do for IPM? What's your system?
Say that again.
What do you do for IPM?
IPM. What do you mean?
Oh, integrated pest management. What do you do about bugs?
Oh, bugs. I thought you said. I thought you said. What do you do about buds? All right.
Smoke them.
I smoke them. What? Oh my god. See, I haven't really had a problem with bugs, but a few things that I've done. But the most important thing I would have to say would be air circulation. Pests absolutely love stagnant air, but if you put in like a solid fan and oscillate, like an oscillating fan in your grow room or your grow tent, it's just going to help. I also like to top dress my soil with ground cinnamon. I know I mentioned that earlier.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but bugs, they hate cinnamon. They can't stand it. I used to grow in a basement and I had bug problems. I read online, put, top dress with some ground cinnamon. I was like, all right, what the heck? I'll try it. I didn't have any bugs after that. You know what I mean?
No kidding, man.
Now,
I've not come across that one before, so that's a new one for me.
really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Also, I never hear anybody really talk about this, but microbe lift, I don't know if you heard about it.
No.
You put in 6 drops per gallon of water the first time, and then 2 drops per gallon after that.
Okay.
And it's going to kill like the larva, and it doesn't do anything to your plant. Like it's perfectly safe. You're not going to have any issues with your plant at all. And, I think that works really great. Like I said, I don't really hear anyone mention microbe lift, but it's really good stuff. I know Amazon carries it, and a lot of pet stores carry it as well.
Interesting. Yeah, it definitely seems like something you could add in as part of the regimen if you've got concerns or whatnot, and then maybe just follow it up with a nice compost tea to introduce that biology back into the system as
Yeah,
required.
you can actually put in your nutrients, and then you can put the 6 and then 2 drops
Yeah.
per gallon of the microbe lift, and all's groovy.
Very cool. Very cool. Speaking more on products, just general products and whatnot, is there something that you'd like to recommend people generally should be using as something in the room?
Honestly, if there's one product that everyone should have in their arsenal, it's my stoner shades, bro.
Gotta protect those
I had
eyeballs,
to, I had to
man.
throw that one in there. Like, you're like, is that a serious answer? Like, what? No, but like, seriously, recharge. It's a game changer. I think everyone should absolutely have recharge. I don't know where I heard about it, but I tried it with my Skittles, and that plant blew up. It was just as big as a lot of my photo periods. Recharge is definitely a game changer, I think.
Yeah. Scotty Reel and the crew over there at the Dude Grows show. They sure like pushing that recharge, and I've heard wonderful things about it from so many people. I've never
So
actually
good,
tried it
man.
myself though, and you know what? It might just be time to get some and give it a shot.
Get some, man. It's really good stuff. Absolutely. Get
Yeah.
them microbes working in the soil. It's nothing but beneficial stuff there.
Well, totally, and it's just another way to introduce more
It's
diversity.
pretty much like Great White. I think the difference is that Recharge has molasses and kelp. I'm not sure if Great
I,
White has kelp.
yeah, because Great White's more of a mycorrhiza bacterial inoculant, uh,
Yes,
but I know that there's microbes in the recharge too. But
there
either way,
is.
good
I
product.
think there's more stuff in the Recharge than it is from the Great White, and it's cheaper too.
Yeah. Again, I've not actually used either product, but I've heard great things from a lot of different growers. And I will just give a quick shout out to Microbial Mass. You can see the sticker on the press behind me. Those guys are local to
Yeah.
Canada and whatnot, and actually one of the products that I use, and they're a great microbe product too. But I think the takeaway there again is diversity, diversity, diversity. If you can introduce microbes from 2 or 3 different sources, your plants are going to do just that much better.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah. So,
Also,
go ahead.
another great thing is if you want to add potassium, like if you're running your compost tea,
Yep.
I've actually put in some banana peels
Yep.
in my compost tea, and my plants absolutely loved it.
Oh, totally. And it's funny. I was watching a completely unrelated YouTube video where the guy was actually pulling raw potassium out of a banana, just doing YouTube.
Really?
Yeah, it was a neat video. But what it came down to was the fruit itself had about half the amount of potassium as the peel. So if you're going to do something compost wise, just use the peels and eat the damn banana, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's free right there.
Yeah, well, no, exactly. And
Eat the banana, throw it in. Use the entire banana. Yeah, most definitely.
yeah, natural local inputs. Very cool. What about legalization? You guys are still sort of on the fence. States are coming on. Can't talk tonight. States are coming on board more and more with legalization, be it medical or full recreational. But what do you think is going to happen over the next few years? Are you guys going to go federally legal?
I know that you asked me if it's going to be like a 5-year thing, and I don't know if it's going to be 5 years that we're going to be fighting prohibition and making everything, federally legal. I mean, but here's the thing: look where we were a decade ago as opposed to
Yeah.
where we are now, and more people are openly being turned on to the medicinal properties of cannabis. It's like we're here. Cannabis is here. It's very much more open than it was even just a few years ago. But I don't know if we're going to be federally legal in 5 years. I think maybe 10 years is more doable. It's more realistic. I also want to give a shout out to Virginia for finally becoming a legalized state. I know they got legalized June 1st, I think, right?
Was it? Okay.
I think that's what it was. Yeah. So a lot of my fans from Virginia area, they're like super stoked to start growing. But I think 10 years is going to be the time frame, because as much as we want it, as much as we want cannabis to be federally legal, I mean, it's all about the paperwork. It's all about passing the laws, and like I know New York passed, for cannabis legalization on a state level, but it's going to take 18 months before
Yeah.
legal sales can actually happen. Which to me kind of sounds like an anomaly. So I think 10 years we should be federally legal.
I hope so. I hope so. And I hope that gives guys like you and I, as creators, more chance to be free and open with the content that we create. So, to that point, have you had any run ins with YouTube? Any issues with Susan and her rules?
YouTube forced me to change my format. I used to do nothing but grow vlogs,
Yeah,
and I got to get paid too.
I hear you.
Us content creators, we got to have monetized content. So what I do is I separate the grow vlogs, because I do it for the people.
Yep.
I already know there's not going to be any monetization. I don't even try to fight it. So what I do is I take the grow tips that I do, like me on camera kind of broadcasting. Those always get monetized. Like those are the best videos. Or like my stoner life stories with gameplay commentary, I throw that in. Cannabis news. It's just like you can't show the plant.
I know. I know. Like, even
And
this chat that we're having and stuff, because we've talked so openly about it, there's no way this video would be monetized.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing though. This is more of like advice to a lot of content creators. If you get rejected for monetization and you're not showing your plants, delete the video, re-upload it again, because you're going to get somebody else. And I've I've had to appeal 3 different times. Like,
Yeah.
upload the video, put it down, upload it, put it down 3 times, and it finally got monetized. So anyone that makes videos out there and you're not showing your plants, or you're not smoking up on camera, those will get monetized. It's just a matter of, that's why I schedule my videos. So, so it's a lot easier to make sure that it gets monetized before 9 a.m. Tuesday or Friday.
Yeah, I
So
hear
trust me,
you.
I've had my run-ins with YouTube. I feel like they're looking at my channel really closely.
Yeah.
But it is what it is, nature of the beast. So hopefully I'm still going to be 10 years from now, I'm still going to be making videos. You know what I mean? And I
Absolutely.
just hope when it becomes federally legal that, YouTube lifts all the ad restrictions, so everybody can make money, and everybody can do what they love to do.
Yeah, and not just YouTube making money off us.
Yeah.
It's frustrating to
I
hear
think they
about.
keep like 55% of the money we make.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
they
dude,
keep a good chunk. So, and what do you do? Got to play by the rules.
you got to play. Yeah.
All right. So, 420 scene. I mean, you're on YouTube. You've got a different Instagram tag, but tell me about that. Where else can we find you here if we want to look you up?
If you want to look me up, you can look me up, Kush_life50 on Instagram. You could join us on Patreon, www.patreon.com/420scene. Also, if anyone wants to listen to my music, I do like a lot of pop punk stuff. Like if you like stuff like Blink or Green Day or Newfound Glory, that kind of stuff, you check out my SoundCloud. I have it in the links of, in all my, all my videos, www.soundcloud.com/420scene. So there's a lot of ways to communicate and find me. And if anybody has a problem with their grows, or anybody that just wants to reach out to me, I think Instagram is probably the best way to go about it.
Right on, right on. Well, sir, it's been a pleasure having you on the show today. Definitely enjoyed chatting with you. I can tell we're very kindred spirits and whatnot. It's just
Oh
the way
yeah,
we
yeah.
approach
I
things.
actually had a lot of fun doing this chat with you.
Yeah, totally. We'll have to do it again soon. Maybe we'll have you on one of the panel chats where we bring on a few more growers and talk about different topics. But that
I
being
think
said,
I think that would be a lot of fun.
right on, right on. And I imagine the crew that are watching would like to see that too. But
Oh
tell
yeah,
me,
most definitely.
one more question here. What's the next big thing in cannabis? What's going to come in the next 10 years, the next 20 years? Where are those changes coming and what are they going to be?
I honestly think it's what we were just talking about before, federally, federal legalization.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Walking anywhere, down the street, across state lines, everywhere you go, and cannabis is legal. I mean, you know how mind-blowing that is? Just even thinking about that, you know? Like, I finished college in 2009. I mean, everyone was so hush hush about cannabis, and here we are sitting in 2021 where you can walk anywhere and, you know, just be straight up legal, you know, obviously in the states that are legal, like, you know, Colorado and Washington, New York, Jersey.
Oh,
It's
for
just
sure.
crazy to think about. So I think federal legalization is going to be the next big thing. I think that will, you know, that's going to open all the doors for you know, you're pretty much opening the doors for a whole new industry.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of
So
money to be made.
I don't think it gets any bigger than that.
Totally, totally. And I agree with that because that's going to be what makes that big change, gets rid of that stigma and helps more people get the medicine and help that they need.
Yeah, most definitely. And not only that, I, there's still going to be people that are a little skeptical about, you know, whether cannabis should be legalized, but you know, if it becomes federally legalized, there's going to be more people being turned on to cannabis and, you know, the medical properties and even the recreational. It makes people calmer. It makes people less, you know, less pissed off at each other. I mean, it's 2021. Everybody's carrying out and pissed off at everybody nowadays. You know what I mean?
No kidding. No
Yeah,
kidding, man.
yeah, man. So
Yeah.
it's crazy, you know.
Everybody just needs to roll up a fat one, have a puff, and chill out. And that being
Yeah,
said, well, 420 scene, that's our show for the day, sir. Again, absolutely appreciate having you on. Guys, check him out on Insta, check him out on YouTube, go check him out on SoundCloud, which I got to go do
yeah,
now.
definitely check it out.
All right. Well, that being said, guys, been a great show today. We out.